I want to start off by simply reading your bio. She is an advocate for human, environmental, and animal rights, being deeply invested in the welfare, understanding, and education of others. Johanna firmly believes the more we learn from one another, the more walls we can tear down. Johanna is a self-educated vegan chef, national spokesperson for, is it RAIN? A self-published author. Welcome, Johanna.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm excited. So I want to go ahead and read my other guest, a part of his bio as well, and then we'll just jump right in. Aaron Robles is by trade a graphic designer and digital marketing strategist. He has served as a marketing director as well as worked with business owners for over a decade to help them take their business to the next level. He has since gone on to launch several businesses specializing in helping others launch and grow successful businesses. Aaron is a Mexican immigrant who's lived in the United States the majority of his life. He's a dreamer and an active DACA recipient. Can you start off? Tell me, what is that?
So DACA is something that was put on for children that were brought into the country by their parents. Okay. So I crossed, it was back in 91. I was only a few months old, and we came to the U.S. So I've been in the U.S. for the majority of my life. I've been in Fort Wayne since 95. And so DACA was just enacted by President Obama in order to give dreamers in my situation the ability to legally work and drive in the United States, because previously I wasn't able to. I didn't get my license till I was 23, 27 now. So
okay. And so when you say that you are a animal rights activist, how do you operate in that position, in that place?
So I personally am not generally the person who is out marching for animal rights necessarily. I consider myself more of a day-to-day activist and striking up conversations with people that I meet, really having honest conversations with people that I come across. So it's more of an individual activism, and then of course just the way that I live my own life. I'm passionate about making as many changes personally that I can to ensure that the animals have a voice as well, and then just kind of leading by example and making people feel comfortable.
I love what you said, that when we get to know each other, then we take down the walls.
Sure.
That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
I want to talk about this TED. Do you know how long I have been watching TED Talks?
Oh, same.
Videos? A
long time.
So when I interviewed Christy and found out that they were coming here, well, by that time it was too late. Their tickets were already gone. But I was so excited to even watch that journey with you guys. So I just want to know why did you get involved, and let's talk about the process. Let's just have a conversation.
Sure. So I'll talk about that a little bit. So one reason that I got involved is a few years ago, I had a very close friend who gave a TEDx talk in Fort Wayne, and I attended it. That was the first one that I had attended live, and seeing her speak and the impact that she was having on people around me, it was just eye-opening and really inspiring. And so she's the one who kept pushing me every year. And then finally this year she said, if you don't do it, I'm going to fill out your application for you. So, and then, I had always been inspired by other TED Talks, but seeing someone that you know or that you've wanted to get to know stand up there, it's really, really cool. And it's just kind of that gas for the tank to make you take that extra step and do something that you never really imagined that you would be in the position to do.
Right. For me, I've been watching TED Talks for years. I can't even tell you the first one I watched, but Simon Sinek and all of these other wonderful speakers and the kind of value that they're putting out into the world was fantastic for me. And I think at one point for me, TED Talks for me was a bucket item list, something I needed to do. So when I got that opportunity, I was like, I didn't even know if I was ready. I didn't know if I was good enough or if I qualified. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it anyway and see what they say. And that's just kind of how it went. So at that point, it's like, well, you signed up and they said yes. Now you better show up and perform. So I just kind of put myself in a situation where you couldn't back out and said, why not? And that's kind of how I got involved.
That's amazing. What I love about it is when I actually spoke to one of the other speakers, and I said, "Hey, let's do a radio show around that," and she instantly put you guys in a group, and everybody just started. Yeah. So that camaraderie was there even before I even met you guys.
Yeah, and I think for us, we felt a lot of the same ways at a lot of the same times where, like, you know, the day before when we were going up there and giving our kind of first practice runs, everyone was outside super nervous. And, like, it's so different performing in a room full of people than it is 2 or 3 people that are there just kind of looking at you. I think we all kind of shared a lot of the excitement and nervousness together, which kind of just brings everyone in, because no one else really understands except for someone else who also has to be up there that day. Yeah. So I think that was really great for us, and just the type of people that do TED Talks. There was a lot of similarities in our attitude and the fact we wanted to learn things from one another, and we were so excited to hear each other speak. The
energy was there then.
Yeah. So it was easy for us to kind of click in.
Yeah. And I think some of our personalities may be a little bit different, and all of our topics were a wide range of things, but the fact that even if some of us by nature are maybe a little bit more timid than others, we have a passion inside of us that we just have to get something out to share. Right. And I think that's, you know, one thing that really kind of drew us together as a group. And afterwards, I mean, a lot of us have kept in touch, you know, pretty closely afterwards.
Well, what was the most challenging part of it?
For me, it was, I would have to say, just the preparation. Because you have to put together an outline and share that, and then create like your slide deck. So really the preparation is unlike anything that you do or that I had previously done.
Same.
So that was probably the most nerve-wracking, making sure that I was getting all of the information I wanted, but in a condensed form, and yet it was clear enough to my coach. So that was probably the toughest for me.
So there was a coach that actually walked you through the process?
Yep.
Individual coaches, or was it?
It was a group of, I think it was like 4 to 5 coaches, and they each had a few of the speakers assigned to them. So you had one coach with, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 people that they would meet with individually and make sure that they're meeting milestones and all of that.
Had you guys done any public speaking at all before that?
I have. I mean, one of the companies I run, I have monthly meetings and I interview other people every single month. So I've been recently, in the last few years, getting a lot more comfortable. But kind of like what you said there, it's totally different because they gave us 18 minutes and it's not a back and forth, right? It's you have 18 minutes to get a message across very clearly. And for me, it was the pressure of, don't screw this up. There's tons of great TED Talks, but there's also some that aren't that great. So it's like, if this is what I'm crossing off my bucket list, I better hope it's watchable. So that kind of pressure, and that kind of feeds into the preparation aspect of it too, because I've never prepared for anything quite like that.
Yeah, right. And it was kind of a multi-layer of preparation. So we had to put together kind of what we were going to talk about and then an outline, but then build your slideshow, which is unique because you don't want a lot of words on a slideshow, which in my world, on the corporate side of things, you have to have words on slides. So it was kind of undoing a lot of the things that we had been trained to do on a business side to refashion it. So take kind of the basic skill, but use it a different way. So that was, but it was fun. I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the process. I probably enjoyed when it was finished. Looking back on it more.
So different once you look back on it. And I think for me and a lot of other people, is like just pushing yourself in a way that you've never pushed yourself before, which was really kind of exciting, of being in a very uncomfortable situation and saying, can I do this? And I think everyone killed it. So I think everyone felt pretty good. And for me afterwards, relief. Yeah. I felt so light afterwards. Yeah. It was ridiculous.
I was so tired. What's the next step from TED Talks? I mean, that's the ultimate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Another one and a bigger
TED
one.
Talks National.
Yeah, because this was TEDx. So those are individually, independently organized. So the actual TED conferences are way bigger. Yeah. So I'm Yeah, maybe one of those soon. We'll see.
So you were sharing with me, Johanna, there's a process for even being selected.
Right.
Okay, can you share that? A little bit of
that? Absolutely. So the TEDx website will put out when they are accepting applications, and it's a very simple application process to begin. You fill out a form in a very short description of what you want to speak about. Again, for me, it was probably one of the biggest challenges because I'm a writer. So yeah, it's like that's my passion, is to get wordy on paper, but I had to scale that back to something like, was it 300 words, 250 words?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and so then you send that in, and if that is accepted by the people who are organizing, they reach out and they ask for more information and to do a 2-minute video and have you send that in within a deadline. And then if that's accepted, then they choose you for kind of accept you as being the next.
How many videos did you have to do before you?
I was just about to comment on that. I probably did 30 to 40 videos because, like you in writing, I'm a talker. So it's like, man, I need to not give a TED Talk right now. And it was like, how do you condense what you're trying to say? And so I went back and forth again and again. And at some point it's like, look, that's pretty solid. Yeah. Send it out.
It's really just the way you speak, I think, at the end of the day. I'm embarrassed to say I did one because I was behind.
You only did one?
Well, kudos, because it worked.
Oh, that's awesome.
It worked.
No, so I looked at
I would have been like that, 30.
I looked at the day of the week that they listed and then the date, and I didn't realize they didn't match. So I was going to do it on a Monday, which was, I believe, to be the day before it was due. Mm-hmm. And then we got an email that said, we're sorry, but we gave you the wrong day. The date is right, and so it's basically due today.
Ooh.
Oh.
So I ran up.
Yeah. I did mine as soon as I got the email because last year I actually meant to apply and missed the deadline.
Oh.
I'm just so late to everything I do. Yeah. So I'm like, nope, I'm doing this right now because I'm not missing it again.
And I wasn't aware that they have them every year here.
They do.
So, guys, what was your topics?
So mine was it was about the power of giving and mindset of abundance. So it was a lot about how as you give, you get a lot more in return, and kind of the beauty and the power. And there was a little bit of science about all of those things, and just kind of educating people on why it's so great to go out and help other people and how that not only benefits them, but benefits you back.
So mine was actually 2 topics that I pulled together. It was about embracing other people and other cultures, and really how you can use food as a way to do that, educate each other on the foods that are local to the culture, and share those experiences with one another, and how that can help build relationships that you never thought possible. And then along the journey, that's how I ended up viewing veganism, my transition to being vegetarian when I was 13, and then vegan after that, almost 10 years ago. And then the reasons for the veganism, the impact that we're having on the environment, and what the poor animals go through, and then your own personal health, and just those 3 kind of foundations for the why behind it, and how in turn I've then kind of won people over again with those lessons on how we use food to do it. So make delicious food and love all the people. And veganism is a type of culture too. So yeah. So one of the pieces that I talked about was the fact that the example that I had growing up, my parents lived here in Fort Wayne, and my mom in the early 1960s had learned that there were new neighbors moving in, so she had gone down the street to welcome them with a fresh baked pie, as you did back then.
That's right.
And they were from another country. The wife didn't speak English, but my mom was very hospitable and very kind. And so she was able to convey enough that this woman felt comfortable enough coming down to our house not long after and requesting if mom could teach her how to make standard American food, fried chicken, that sort of thing. And also help her learn English. So that was kind of the beginning. My mom did that a few other times through her life where that's where I learned that to she didn't just teach this woman how to cook something, but in turn she learned how to make, authentic Greek food. And so we grew up with a wide variety of food and people and cultures and
yeah.
Yeah, and it does teach you so many valuable lessons that I think we need now more than ever.
And what about you?
Yeah, so one of the parts that I'll focus on is kind of my upbringing and kind of how that affected how I see the world now and kind of my message of spreading the abundance mindset. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I came to the United States when I was just a few months old. Our family is from Juarez, which is one of the most violent places in Mexico, especially in the 90s and 2000s. So
where is that?
Juarez.
Okay.
It's right on the Texan border.
Okay.
So if you think of anything in regards to cartels or drug smuggling, like that's where all that was happening. So we escaped a pretty violent situation and came here for that reason. We moved to Fort Wayne when I was about 4. My parents were, I think, 25 or 26, with me as a 4 to 5 year old and my younger brother who was just born. And we pretty much came here and got culture shock as immigrants who didn't really know English. We were in Texas for 4 years, but Texas is pretty much Mexico if you're right on the border.
Right.
So the culture shock was way different coming up here and experiencing the cold and the snow, and just everyone spoke English and everything was so different. But we adjusted pretty quickly here and we've been here ever since. But I talked a little bit about how as I grew up just kind of normal like every other kid. And it wasn't until I was a little older that I realized how different I was, because I didn't have the proper documentation as the other kids. So when I went to go get my learner's permit for my driver's license, I didn't have the right paperwork for it, so I couldn't get it, which was a shock to me. Mm-hmm. And kind of dealing with that, I couldn't get a job either. So while all my friends were getting jobs, I couldn't do that either. So I started, as I grew older, seeing all these limitations to my life. And the big one for me was when I applied for college. I had a 2-year scholarship to the University of St. Francis, and I was so excited. I worked so hard for it. Turns out I couldn't touch any of that scholarship money because it was government money. So as someone without, the proper American documentation, I wasn't able to touch any of my 21st century scholarship money. So, I mean, for me, that was really hard, working so hard to acquire all of those opportunities and not being afforded those same opportunities. So that was kind of, for me growing up, really, really hard, working as hard as I did to get a quarter of what everyone else got, and seeing all of my friends go to college at all these big schools and flunking out while I was sitting here like, well, now what do I do? So throughout all of these life experiences, I had so many people that came up and helped me and presented me opportunities and gave me jobs, and I had scholarships in other places. So all of those people helped turn me from just someone who was hopeless and saying, what am I going to do in this country? I don't feel like I belong, to, oh, I could do this. I could do a little bit of that.
Okay.
And that just quickly shifted kind of my situation and how I saw myself, and people were there helping me create opportunity that I wouldn't have had on my own or seen on my own. We had to adjust. I ended up going to Ivy Tech. I was on a scholarship there that was private, but just learning to adapt to my situation was something that I carry now to this day, and that's why I think I'm an entrepreneur now, because I had so many closed doors before. I had to just make my own door.
Right. Yep.
So now that's what I try and do with other people.
Are you first generation?
Yes. Yes. So I said this in my talk, is my parents came here to survive and I came here to thrive. They were able to get rid of all of those distractions like the violence and the poverty, and they made such a big risk coming over to an entirely new country so that I could have proper education and grow up in better conditions, and I'm not plagued by what I would have been plagued down there. So now I'm able to take their survival. I mean, their success was owning a house, having groceries, and their kids fed.
And keeping you guys safe.
Right. That was their main concern.
Yes.
I'm able to look beyond that and say, all right, what's retirement look like? How do you build an empire? How do you build wealth for people who've never had that before? So
and
that
was your speech.
Right.
That was your speech.
Right.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. I'll give you guys the final thought.
I think for myself, I would have to say that being from here originally, I'm really proud to see how Fort Wayne has grown and the way that Fort Wayne has embraced other cultures, and including veganism. So the interesting thing about it, though, is all about educating yourself, because along the way, I learned not just how many animal products are in food, but how many other things are in food. How many other things that we're eating in this country that other countries would never allow just because the healthcare system. I could go on a whole talk about that. But at the end of the day, just the fact that here in town, especially now, they are so embracing of that. Nearly every restaurant has something on their menu, or they easily know what you're talking about, and they'll help. And it used to be a lot more difficult than what it is now, but now, because it is so much more acceptable and known, and it is a movement that has just gained huge amount of force, especially with this generation who it rests on their shoulders to save this planet. You know, that is what they're doing. So, you know, it's very cool because you go to most any restaurant now, and like I say, it's either marked or they are very clear and understand exactly what it is. So it's not like it was even 2 years ago.
How are you eating vegan ice cream? How do they even prepare?
It's usually made out of either like almond milk, cashew milk, soy milk, coconut milk. Yeah, still has sugar in it. Still tastes delicious.
Speeches that you gave, are they available to be viewed? And
yeah, so currently I know that they did live streams during the actual event. So if you go to the TEDx Fort Wayne Facebook page, you'll see the live stream video, so you can go see all of the talks now. The individual finalized product of each one of our talks should be out in about a month or so. I'm not really exactly sure when. But again, if you go on their website or Facebook page, they're going to announce when those are ready.
Well, you are listening to Speak Now with Gena, right here at 95.7 FM, WELT. I'll be right back.